CD and I. So CD said first Cal, which yeah, that's a pretty easy schedule. But I think we both ended up settling on Virginia being the easiest schedule in the ACC.
In
And I
the
think
Power
Wake Forest is
Four.
also, yeah, probably in Power Four. I think Wake Forest is also in that conversation too.
Yep.
But yeah, some of these bottom schedules in the ACC. Remember, the ACC is 17 teams now.
Yeah.
Okay, you added Cal and Stanford and SMU. Like some of these schedules are not good. All right, Virginia's win total is 6.5. Who would have thought? A year ago today that
Tony
Virginia's win
Elliott.
total today for 2025 6.5. It, it's it's pretty ridiculous. And is it juiced to the over? No, it's juiced to the under slightly. But Sadie, I mean, why is Virginia's schedule, in our opinion, and we may be proved wrong during the season, the easiest schedule in the ACC for 2025?
We talked about it with the Big Ten in terms of like the parity difference, right? And with these big conferences, you're gonna have teams at the top that are significantly better and teams you want to avoid on your schedule than at the bottom. And this is absolutely one of those conferences, even more dramatically than the Big Ten. You have got your big dogs there with Miami and Clemson, who just have better resources than everybody else. I would throw SMU and Florida State in that next tier there, and then and Louisville too with Jeff Brom, and then everyone else, right? There's a tier below that with your Syracuse's, and at the top that's Georgia Tech. Freaking love them, and then but then at the bottom, some really really bad teams in terms of their outlook right now with Stanford. Even throw Virginia in there, Cal, Boston. Like you've got some teams that are really struggling in these off seasons. Yeah, and guess who Virginia gets to draw, as well as a very, very easy out of conference schedule, which includes NC State, by the way, a road game at NC State. That will be an out of conference. That's not a typo on your screen there. They're only playing 8 conference games, but they do get NC State. So you get Coastal Carolina at home, you get NC State, you get William and Mary, and then your technically Power 4 out of conference game is, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Washington State is on
Washington
there,
State.
right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's who it is. And I saw Stanford on the schedule, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not. Keep gotta
Yeah.
reminding myself about that. But you get, like you said, Stanford, Florida State. Who knows about that? Wake Forest,
Wake
Cal,
Forest.
UNC, Duke, Virginia Tech. Even your toughest game of the year by far is at Louisville, and then there's a massive gap between that and probably Florida State, and then a massive gap
Yeah.
between that and everybody else. And you talk about six and a half
And
being win total. Without a doubt, you
right
have
now,
10 winnable games on that schedule.
yeah. And we don't know right now how good Florida State's going to be, how good North Carolina's going to be. So they could be a lot better than, you and I are portraying them to be right now. In a month's time, when we have our entire ACC research packet done, like we could be a lot higher on those teams, and this may be a more difficult schedule to us. But for us, it was either Virginia or Wake Forest, who plays SMU as probably their toughest game at home. But they also draw Georgia Tech, who you and I are both pretty high on. Uh, they're out of conferences: Kennesaw State, West Carolina, Oregon State, and Delaware, which makes Wake Forest's schedule also pretty stinky in terms of the ability to win games. But Wake Forest's roster is poor. Jake Dickert, I think he's a really good coach, and I've bought stock on Jake Dickert as early as when he was at Washington State, and their win total is 4.5, a little bit juiced to the over, but to not make a bowl game with this schedule, Wake Forest, that would be pretty brutal. But I'll let you quickly make the argument for Cal.
Yeah, I mean, your out of conference is Oregon State and Texas Southern, and then San Diego State on the road actually, which is awesome, but it's not that far for them. And then Minnesota at home. And yeah, yes, we just talked about Drake Lindsay previously, but true freshman or retro freshman going out there, you have no idea. They lost a lot of pieces, key stars on the team. That's a very winnable game. But even after that, like we said, it's similar to Virginia. Your toughest game is at Louisville, and then you've got SMU at home at the end of the year, and then it's a bunch of very winnable games with Boston College and your Dukes, even though we like Manny Diaz, and North Carolina. Who knows about that? Virginia's on there, and Stanford too. So like teams you want to be drawing, you're in there. And if you're talking about low win totals, but you've got a ton of winnable games, that's where you could see like you can absolutely run like win a couple of those toss up coin flip games, and all of a sudden you're sitting at 6, 7, 8 wins. But I don't know if it's gonna happen for Cal, and we'll talk about that more. But that was where I was thinking too, just easy out of conference schedule comparatively, and then also very very manageable, and you're missing some of the big dogs in the ACC.